Good morning to all of you. Today I am recording the lesson for the day 19. So in the previous classes we have been studying about the resolution of forces, resultant of forces, equilibrium condition and Lami's theorem. So we have solved the problems using the parallelogram law of forces and also on the resolution of forces, components of forces and Lami's theorem. Now today we will discuss about the moment of a force, couple of a force, parallel forces and the other things about the some of the basic things about the moment of forces, couples and so this will be the end of the topic and by studying this we can close this chapter. Now I am sharing the PPT. So in this lesson we are going to discuss about the moment of a force, parallel force, parallel forces, the laws of parallel forces and laws of moments and couples. So in the previous classes, as I just said, we have studied about the parallelogram law of forces, resolution of forces and Lami's theorem. And we also solved some of the problems. Now in this lesson, we are going to discuss about the moment of a force, types of moments, law of moments, Leibniz principle of moments, parallel forces and couple, that is the couple of forces. Now the first one is the moment of a force. So this moment of a force is experienced by many of us in so many things in the daily life. For example, we are opening a tap with the help of the fingers. There also we are applying the force with the help of the fingers, and due to the moment of the force only the tap will turn. Similarly, we are steering a car or any vehicle. To rotate the steering, we have to apply the force, and that force will produce the moment. So due to that moment of force only, the steering is able to rotate. Like this, in our daily life, we are experiencing the all these moments of forces, couples that we will discuss in detail. Now, first of all, what is the moment of a force? So the moment of force is simply we can define as the turning effect produced by a force is called as the moment of force. The main cause of the movement is to produce the turning effect in a body where it is applied. And the magnitude of the force is equal, that is the magnitude of the moment of a force is equal to the force into the distance between the force and point of application of the force. The distance between the force and the point at which the body is about to rotate. Here what is happening is, whenever a force is applied at one end, and at the other end is the body is about to rotate, free to rotate. So here there are 2 points. So here the body is shown in the figure. It is a lever having a length R. Here there are 2 ends of this body. First one is the point O and second is the point M. Here the point O is called as the point about which the body is about to rotate. That means here the body is fixed. That means at this point the body is fixed, but it is free to rotate. Now the point M is called as the point of application of the force. That means it is the point at which the force is going to be applied, and the distance between the point through which it is about to rotate and the point through which the force is going to be applied is called as the length of the lever. And here the moment of a force is nothing but the turning effect produced by the force in that body in which the force is applied. So the main aim of the moment of a force is to produce the turning effect in the body. Here the magnitude of the moment of a force can be measured by the product of the force and the perpendicular distance between the force and the point at which the body is about to rotate. And here the point O is also called as the fulcrum. That is the point through which the body is about to rotate. And point M is called as the point of application. Now the force and the perpendicular distance between the fulcrum and point of application. The force is called as the moment of a force, and here force P is applied at point M and point O is the fulcrum, that is nothing but the point through which the body is about to rotate. Now the moment of the force P about O is equal to P into perpendicular distance. So moment of force P about O is equal to P into R. And here the P into R is the force and distance. So the units are the Newton meters or kilonewton meter. So here what is happening is the force is applied in a vertical direction, that is in the perpendicular to the axis of the body. Sometimes the force can be applied inclined also, like this. Here what is happening is, in this figure the force P is applied at the same point M, but at some inclination. The force P is making an angular theta with the horizontal at point M. Here also we should take the same thing. The moment of the force is nothing but the, by definition, the product of the force and the perpendicular distance between the force and point through which it is about to rotate. Therefore, here we should consider the perpendicular distance. Now, if you construct the imaginary triangles by extending a line from point M that is parallel to P at point M, and also drawing a perpendicular to that imaginary line from point O, we construct a imaginary triangle. Here the angle at O is equal to, so when the P makes an angle theta, then the angle at the other side of M also equal to theta. Now this is however 90 degrees. So the angle at point O is equal to 90 minus theta. Now here the force and the perpendicular distance we are constructed. Now the perpendicular distance becomes r into cos of the angle. So that is nothing but the r into cos 90 minus theta. However, the cos 90 minus theta is equal to sin theta. So the force is P and the distance is r into sin theta. Therefore, the moment of the force is equal to P into r into sin theta. So here this is the equation for the moment of a force. When a force is inclined at an angle of theta with horizontal, then the moment of the force produced is equal to P into r into sin theta, where theta is the angle made by the force with horizontal and r is the length of the lever and P is the magnitude of the force. Now coming to the types of moments. So generally we got the two types of moments. As I said, the main effect of this moment of the force is to produce the turning effect in a body. So depending upon the direction of the rotation of the body or depending upon the turning effect in which it is about to rotate, in which direction it is about to rotate. The moments are classified into two categories. One is the clockwise movement and second is called as the anti-clockwise movement. So very simple. The clockwise movement can be defined as the moment produced by a force if the body is about to rotate in clockwise or the body is about to rotate in the same direction as that of the hands of the clock will move, then it is called as the clockwise movement. Now coming to the anti-clockwise movement. Here, so this is the first we will discuss about the clockwise movement. So if the rotation of the body is due to the force is in the same direction in which the hands of the clock will move, then it is said to be called as the clockwise movement. Now in the figure, a body having a length r and here the point O is the pre-end and point M is the application point of application force. Here the point P is applied in the downward directions. So the point P acts vertically downwards. So if we imagine it, this what is happening due to the application of this force P, the body will try to rotate in the downward direction. So that is nothing but it will try to rotate in the same direction as that of the hands of clock will move. In the clock, the hands also will move in the some direction. That is like this. So this is called as the clockwise movement. In the same direction here also the body will move. So this is called as the clockwise movement. And here also the amount of movement is equal to P into R. There is the force into perpendicular distance. The next one is the anti-clockwise movement. Here, so it is opposite to that of the clockwise movement. Here what is happening is due to the effect of the force or due to the effect of the moment, that is if the due to this force it produces a moment, and due to moment it produces a turning effect. That is due to the turning effect, if the body is about to move in the opposite direction in which the hands of clock will move, then it is said to be called as the anti-clockwise movement. That means if the body tends to rotate or about to rotate in the opposite direction to that of the hands of the clock, then it is said to be called as the anti-clockwise movement. Here, this is the body, the same body, but here the force, same force, but is applied in the vertically upwards. And due to this force, the body will try to move in like this. So this is nothing but the movement of the what movement? It is nothing but the opposite to the. So this is the clockwise. Hands of the clock will move like this. This is called as the anti-clockwise. That is, this is the direction in which is opposite to the that of the hands of the clock will move. So this is called as the anti-clockwise movement. So whenever the force is produces a turning effect in which the body is about to move in a opposite direction in which the hands of the clock move, then that moment is called as the anti-clockwise moment. And here also the moment is equal. The moment of the force is equal to the product of the force and the distance between the 2 points of the body, that is the O and M. Sorry, O and M. Here that is the distance between the point of application and the point through which the body is about to rotate. So that is nothing but the generally the length of the body. Now, so generally here one more important thing. So generally the clockwise movement is taken to be negative. If a force produces a clockwise movement, then it is taken as negative. And whereas the anti-clockwise movement produced with the force is taken to be positive. So this is very important while finding out the algebraic sum of the movements of the forces. Then it is very important to follow the sign conventions. So if a movement is clockwise, it is taken to be, and if the movement is anti-clockwise, it is taken to be positive. So that is very important. Next, we'll go for the law of moments. Here, the law of moments play a very vital role to find out the unknown forces that are acting on the body when that body is in equilibrium condition. And this law of movements also applicable when the body is at equilibrium condition. And this law of movements states that the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane is zero if the body is maintained at equilibrium condition. That means some forces are acting on a body. So, and we also having some points. So we can take we are having some points on the body, and the measurements are known. The distance between that point and to all the forces from that point is known to us. Then we can take the moments of all the forces about any point. We take the moments about any point. Then what is happening? The condition is if the body is maintained at equilibrium condition. So when the body is maintained at equilibrium condition. For example, some forces are acting and the body is not moving. The body is maintained in the stationary condition. Then the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane is zero. So this is called as the law of moments. Or otherwise we can say that in the algebraic sum what is happening? The clockwise moments are taken to be negative and anti-clockwise moments are taken to be positive. So we got some positive values and we got some negative values. That is, we got some anti-clockwise moments and we got some clockwise moments. Here what is happening is when that moment is 0 means sum of the negative values must be equal to sum of the positive values. So that is nothing but the what is the positive value? Anti-clockwise movement. What is the negative value? Nothing but the clockwise movement. So here what is happening is the clockwise movements must be equal to anti-clockwise movements when the body is maintained at equilibrium condition. So from the law of movements we can say that for equilibrium condition the sum of clockwise movements is equal to sum of anti-clockwise movements. So simply we can say for equilibrium condition the clockwise movements must be equal to anti-clockwise movements. So this is called as the law of movements, and this law will be helpful in many situations to find out the unknown values when some known values are given, because in some cases the body is maintained at equilibrium condition under the action of some number of forces. In that case, some known values are given like force, length, angle, like that, and we need to find out the other unknown values. And so by equating the moments, so in that body we have to find out the clockwise moments and anti-clockwise moments. Then we have to equate the clockwise moments must be equal to anti-clockwise moments. Then we can find out the unknown value by that equation. That means whenever a body is maintained at equilibrium condition, that means it is not moving. The turning effect produced by all the forces must be zero. Here what is happening is Actually, the turning effect is not zero. What is happening is the sum of the forces are producing the turning effect in one direction, that is clockwise, and some of the forces are producing the moments in the other direction, that is in the anti-clockwise. So the moments produced by the forces in one direction are nullified by the moments of the produced by the other forces in the other direction. Therefore, the net moment acting on the body will be equal to zero, and in that case the turning effect is zero. Therefore, it will not be maintained in the equilibrium condition. So that is the meaning. Now, the next law, this is also one of the principle associated with the moments of the forces, and this is called as the Vergnon's principle of moments. So previously we have studied the law of moments, and this is called as the Vergnon's moments, principle of moments. So here this Vergnon's principle of moments is applicable to a body when some number of forces are acting on the body and the resultant force is not equal to zero. In the previous case, as we discussed about the law of moments, the law of moments is applicable to the body when the body is maintained at equilibrium condition. That means when the body is at equilibrium condition, the resultant force acting on the body must be equal to zero. In that case, the previous case, the resultant must be equal to zero. But here, this Vergnon's principle of moments will come into effect when we are having some amount of resultant acting on the body due to the action of the forces. Then this principle is applied at that condition. Here it will simply says that what it says the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces must be equal to the moment of the resultant about the same point, because we have to find the moments about any point in the plane. So the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane of the body must be equal to the moment of their resultant about the same point. So that is the statement. Now we also can see the statement. The Bergnon's principle states that the algebraic sum of the moments of a given system of forces about any point in the plane of the forces is equal to the moment of their resultant about the same point. So this is called as the Vergnon's principle of moments, and it is also simply called as the principle of moments. And here what it is saying that if the resultant is not zero, some amount of resultant is acting. In that case, the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces must be equal to the moment of their resultant about the same point. So if you compare this one with that of the previous case, in the previous case that was called as the law of moments. In that case, generally that is applicable to a equilibrium condition, and when the body is maintained at equilibrium condition, the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane of forces must be equal to zero, because the resultant is zero. So the resultant is in that case is 0 because it is maintained in the equilibrium condition. Therefore, the algebraic sum of the moments must be equal to 0. Here also same thing. Here what is happening is the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces must be equal to moment of the resultant about the same point. If the resultant is there, then we can have some value and that is not equal to 0. In that case, if the resultant is there, then it will not be maintained in the equilibrium condition. But on the other hand, if the body is maintained at the equilibrium condition under the action of some number of forces, then the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane of forces must be equal to 0 because the r is equal to 0. It is not causing any movement. So r into 0 will become the 0. Here also, if the r value we got some value, then the r into that distance will give the some value of the moments. So we can say the law of moments also in relation with the Varignon's principle of movement. That's why it is called as the law. That previously it is called the law of moments, and it is called as the principle of movements. Now, with the help of the law of movements and principle of movements, so we are going to solve some problems where the forces are applied or resultant is acting, or in some cases the body is maintained in the equilibrium condition. In that case, we have to equate for example, if the body is maintained in the static condition, that is at the equilibrium condition, the resultant is equal to 0. In that case, the we have to equate the sum of the clockwise moments must be equal to sum of the anti-clockwise moments. And whereas in the other case, if due to the action of some number of forces, the resultant is acting. In that case, the we have to equate the algebraic sum of the moments of all the forces about any point in the plane of the forces should be equated to the resultant of should be equated to the moment of the resultant about the same point in the plane of the forces. So like this, we can solve many problems in the field of engineering depending on the known and unknown values. Next is the parallel forces. Now, what is this parallel force? We know the force, we have defined the force. The force may be defined as the agency which produces or which tends to produce a change of position by body. So it changes the change of position or tends to change the change of position. That means whenever a body is subjected to a force, if it is applied to a static body, the body may be set into motion. And if it is applied to a body which is already in motion, then the motion will change. That means it may produce the acceleration or deceleration depending on the direction of the force applied and the direction of the motion. Like that. That is the force can be defined as agency which produces the change of position of a body. Now coming to the parallel forces. As we know that the force has got the two things. magnitude and direction. Magnitude means the amount of the force, how much quantity of the force is acting is called as the magnitude. And direction means in what way it is acting, how it is acting. It makes how much angle, either with vertical or horizontal, and in which direction. So that direction will clearly specify the force. Now coming to the parallel forces, means we know that the force will have a line of action. So this is line of action is here very important. What is called line of action? If you draw a line along the force, then that is a line in which the force is going to act. That is the line along which the force is going to act. That line is called as the line of action of a force. So here the parallel forces can be defined. That means here parallel force, as the name is indicating, the forces are parallel. Here the force is not a single one. It must be forces, two or more than two. So for this instant we are taking the two forces. So here we take the figure 1. I have shown the two forces are acting with some inclination and upwards to the rightwards. But here we can see one thing. What is the thing? The forces are having the same or different magnitude, but their what is that? Their parallel to, that means their line of action is parallel to each other. So the force can be defined as the line of action. Line of action is nothing but the an imaginary line drawn along the force in which it will act. So it will show the direction in which it is acting, the line through which it is acting. So it makes the same angle with the horizontal or the vertical as the force makes. So that line is called as the line drawn along the force or through the force is called as the line of action of force. So if the line of action of two or more forces are parallel to each other, then that forces are called as the parallel forces. So very simple definition. If the two or more forces are acting on a body and whose line of action is parallel to each other, or whose line of action is parallel, then that forces are called as the parallel forces. And here we got the two cases. So leftward I have shown the two forces, and in the rightward also I have shown the two forces. In the first case, the forces are acting with some inclination. However, the inclination of the first force and the second force with the horizontal is same. And in the second case also, there are two horizontal forces. That means the inclination is zero. The inclination of the first force and the second force is also equal to zero. So here what is happening is the line of action of these forces is parallel to each other, and this kind of forces are called as the parallel forces. And we got the basically two types. So and they are classified as the like parallel forces and unlike parallel forces. So very simple. In the first case, if you see both forces, here in our example we have taken the two forces. Sometimes it may be three, more or not, so many things, so many also. There is no restriction on the number of forces. So let us see this example. Here, the two forces are also acting in the same direction. These two forces are acting in the same direction. So they are called as the like parallel forces. And if we take the other diagram, here the two forces are, so one, the first force is acting rightward and the second force is acting leftward, but parallel to each other. So they are called as the unlike parallel forces. So the first one is called the like parallel forces and second one is called as the unlike parallel forces. So the like parallel forces can be defined as if the forces act in the same direction, then it is called, they are called as the like parallel forces. And if the forces act in the opposite direction, then they are called as the unlike parallel forces. Now we'll see the resultant of the two like parallel forces. Here we are taking the F1 and F2 are the two like parallel forces. That means the forces must be parallel, and also like means they should act in the same direction. So for example, we have taken the F1 and F2. So consider the two like parallel forces F1 and F2 are acting at the points A and B respectively in the same plane as shown in the figure. Let capital R is equal to the resultant of the forces, resultant of the given forces, and X is the distance between the resultant force and point O. Now the OACB as shown, the F1 is acting at point A and F1, F2 is acting at point B. Say R is acting at point C at a distance of X from the point O. Now the very simple, we know that what is the resultant if F1 is acting upwards and F2 also acting upwards. So very simple, the resultant must be equal to the sum of the that forces. So because the both forces are acting in the same direction with the same and also parallel, so we have to just sum, we have to just add. So resultant R is equal to F1 plus F2, that is the resultant. Now the next thing is the point at which the resultant is acting, that we should find. So for this, to find out the distance x, we have to apply the Varignon's principle of moments. So from the principle of moments, here what it says, the algebraic sum of the moments of the forces about a point in the plane of forces must be equal to the moment of their resultant about the same point. So here the plane is OABC is a plane. The point is, we are taking the moments about the point O, and here the from this principle, the what are the algebraic sum, the first F1 force and distance is OA, that is F1 into OA is the moment of the first force, F1 force, and it is also causing which type of moment, an anti-clockwise moment. So it is a positive. Next, the force F2 and acting at a distance of OB, or we can say it is ON, OA, okay, OB. So OB into F2 is the moment of the force, and it is also causing a anti-clockwise movement. So it is taken to be positive. And what is the resultant? The resultant is R, and it is acting at a distance of x. So here, from the principle of the moments, R into x, that is the resultant, the moment of the resultant about the point O, R into x must be equal to the sum of the moment of F1 about O, that is F1 into OA, plus the moment of the force F2 about O, that is F2 into OB. So here the R into X is equal to F1 into OA plus F2 into OB. So with this we can able to, by equating the equation 1 and 2, we can able to find out the distance x through which the resultant is acting. Now this is about the unlike forces. Here what is happening is the F1 is acting downwards and F2 is acting upwards. So consider two unlike forces F1 and F2, that is F1 is acting downwards and F2 is acting upwards at A and B points. Now the resultant is equal to, here that difference of forces, because F1 and F2 both are in the quite opposite direction. So the difference of forces. So here which is having the larger value we don't know. For example, we are assuming that the F1 is bigger than the F2, or F1 is more value than the F2. Therefore, the resultant is equal to R is equal to F1 minus F2. That is the magnitude of the resultant. Now coming to the moments. So here also we have to equate the, what is called, we have to use the principle of moments to find out the distance x. Say that R is acting at some distance, say x. So from the principle of moments, the R into x must be equal to what? The algebraic sum of the moments of force F1 about O and moment F2 about O. Here the F2 is causing a what type of moment? It is anti-clockwise, so positive, and F1 is causing a clockwise, it is a negative. So therefore the R into X is equal to the anti-clockwise movement of F2, that is F2 into OB, because F2 is acting at point B, and minus F1 into OA, the force F1 and the distance is OA, because here the F2 is causing a anti-clockwise movement, so taken to be positive, and F1 is causing a anti-clockwise, so it is a negative. Like this, so the anti-clockwise is positive and the clockwise is negative. So all the algebra of the moments is equal to R into X. In this way we can find out the X value. So today we are stopping at this point, and we'll continue the remaining in the next class. So thank you all.